before I get started, I wanted to do this. Oh, happy Saturday, Glenn. It's a new effect from Zoom. I'll try it again. Okay, okay. So oh, the chat. Okay, sorry. I'm going to open the chat. There it is. It's open now. So what is uh, being expressed here is incredibly simple. It's so obvious. It's remarkably straightforward, almost very evident. The sense of self, a creation within this appearance, constantly seeks through completion, through the construct, through the idea of time. It jumps from one thing to another, one concept to the next, all within the illusion of time. But in reality, it's just threading water. It goes nowhere. Nothing is truly moving forward. Nothing is really happening. Nothing ever moves. This self, this character, suffers in its endless search, looking for an end to its suffering and getting lost in appearances. It runs away from what it perceives as unpleasant, stressed in discomfort, seeking, or life circumstances that don't match its idea of completeness. It rejects what it is or what is, refusing to accept the present isness, this very moment, this. Eventually, this seeking hits a dead end. In directness, it realizes the futility of seeking, but can't stop. It must continue because seeking is its nature. This seeking hits hard. It's wow, it can't stop something that it's not. It's tied to the illusion of moving forward through time. But there's no time. The illusory self can appear as a thought of I am, as a location like I am here, as a feeling like I am real, as an assumption, as an emotion, I am happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. But since time is a construct, it can't see itself as an individual seeking in time. It only perceives through a very narrow lens, kind of like looking through like a telescope or a peephole of a perceived door of what isness, which is infinite. So the end of seeking comes when this sense of separation, self, me, individual vanishes, leaving only what is, the very present moment, the very isness. But it runs from this and able to see it as complete. There must be something missing with this completeness. There must be something lacking with what this is already. I can't accept this. I must negotiate. I want the full enlightenment. I want what he has, what she has. I want to be a no me. I want to be this and that and all of this stuff. I want to be able to roam around in India with no clothes and be able to bless everyone in my sight. Or I want the full richness, the whatever seems to be. I want to fall romantically in love and with everything. It wants its idea of completion to be fulfilled, but it doesn't see that the idea, the journey, the path, the movement is illusory. This frustrates the sense of self because it craves understanding, but it will never actually grasp it. The whole cannot be understood. The completeness cannot be grasped. It's impossible. But again, the sense of self, the sense of separation, the sense of whatever, it wants to go from A to B, subject to object. It wants a destination. But what if there's no next? What if there's no next event? What if you're stuck here infinitely like Groundhog Day, but instead of a day after day, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this, never ending this. And there's no time. The time is a construct. Nothing is genuinely advancing. Nothing is truly moving. Understanding would mean the dissolution of the sense of self, an unraveling, a falling apart, but it cannot understand something that already is. In the directness, in the immediacy of this, when it's seen that there's no time, meaning that it's a complete fabrication. There's no past, there's no future, there's no next. It has nowhere to go. It gets cornered. It gets cornered. And when it's cornered, it sees that it's actually absent. It's not quite there. The idea of seeking is like running in one place, going nowhere, nowhere to go. But it thinks that it can go somewhere. But when it stops the running, it can be uncomfortable. It can be disorienting. What do you mean there's no next? What do you mean this is it already? What do you mean that there's no one here? What do you, what do you mean there's no contracted energy? What do you mean there's no me to fall away? And it goes back running in its place, running in one place. When it stops again, it sees that, well, nothing's really moving. Nothing's really changing. Nothing is real. Nothing that I perceive is actually happening. Of course, when it sees that, then it dissolves into this, wait a second, there's the tree, there's the clouds, there's the air, there's this sweet smell of flowers. But this is not it. This can't be it. This can't be this. It goes running in place again and looking for something. And the next it goes, and then when it's slapped again into silence, there's nothing to hear here. There's nothing that can be said about this. There's nothing that has ever been said about this. Wow, what is this? There'll be doubts. There'll be disorientation. What seems to happen as an unfolding is not a cookie cutter experience. It's not about dissolving. It's not about, it can appear as anything. It can be a bam. It can be a wow. It can be like, oh yeah, this is kind of boring. This is nothing special. Is this really it? Or it could be a stunned, what? Or it could be appear as this long clapping. Oh my goodness, wow. It's already this. How can this be? And then on top of that, although we can probably glimpse what this is already, is this infinity? Is there really no time? Is there really no me? Then it goes into this like meing or being, like a circular thing kind of like happening. One day there's this walking boundlessly in nature, thinking that this is paradise. And the next day could be scratching the head and saying that, I think I lost it. I had it yesterday, but I lost it. So it goes running again, trying tried to chase the illusory enlightenment, but it has nowhere to go. It has nothing to do. It's an impasse. It's checkmate. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing that precedes this. But the individual caught in the idea of time cannot grasp eternity, cannot understand infinity. So it goes to what it knows. It fears that, well, it can see this peacefulness, this stillness in its very isness. When all the chatter seems to dissolve, when all of the ideas seem to vanish, when all of the beliefs seems to crumble, and there could be this relaxation. And then all of a sudden it will think, will this be, can I keep this? Will this be maintained? Will this be in the next moment? Can I hold on to this? And then it starts running again in its place, running and chasing this dream again. Aren't you tired of running? It's a marathon. But even if there's tiredness, that's also it. But even when there's frustration, there's also it. Although there's no one running, stop running away from what is already. Although there's no you, stop running from this wild idea there's simply no one. Although it's just another idea. There's this peace that cannot be known. There's this liberation that's quite stunning. There's this magic. There's this mystery. You don't have to go to the next to know it. You don't have to hide from it. Because it's always, you can't run, you can't hide. It always is. You can pretend to run in one place. You can pretend to hide from it, but it's all pretend. All of this is just words. It doesn't really matter. All of this is just silly expression of something that already is. What I say is completely irrelevant. Yet there is this longing to figure out what's not irrelevant. Can I figure out what you're not talking about? Can I know what is unknowable? There's already this emptiness that is so obvious, that is so straightforward, that is so direct, that is almost so self-evident that there's no self. If you would like to speak, talk, say hooray, please go ahead. And thank you so much for coming. And hello, everyone. Oh, thank you so much. I'm not in the middle, okay? Infinite ground hogular business. It does seem that way in the story anyway, that there's this repetition of something that happens seemingly over and over, but also at the same time, everything is fresh and new. It's quite astonishing that something that never moves seems to appear as this infinite movement. How come you can't understand it? How come it's ungraspable? How come you cannot define it? Um, Great question. Because understanding is in the next, knowing is in the next, getting it is in the next. There's going to be some idea of trying to get it, trying to grasp it, but the next does not exist. So even I was talking to someone that had a PhD earlier today, and the character seemingly intellectualizes everything. So even when it's quite obvious already, even though when it's already glaringly what this is already, it tries to figure it out. So the figuring out appears in the illusion of time. So since there is no time, even the destination is a construct. Even the knowing is a construct. Even the figuring out is in a construct. Even if you seemingly think that you got there, even if you seemingly thinking that you know it, then it creates this another illusion of knowing, like it has arrived at something, that it has figured it out, that it has somehow know it, but knowing it creates this I know this. So there is this separation. There is this very subtle um, kind of understanding. So anything that's really inging, everything that's moving, everything that's non-permanent, everything that seems to be moving is an illusion, it's a construct of time. The very intellect, the very knowing, the very wisdom is all irrelevant to this. Because what's being expressed here is the unknowable, period. There's no getting to know what the unknowable is. Good luck. um, so, follow-up question. So, how do you know the present moment? It's actually the absence of knowing. It has nothing to do with you figuring it out. And it's so simple, right? That's why it's so obvious, because it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your intellect, with your grasp, with your skill, because it already is. It does not require any acceptance. It does not require any rejection. It does not require any comprehension. It does not require anything at all. For example, if the baby, sees it in its completion, meaning it sees it without words, without concepts, without ideas, that's clarity. But seemingly for the individual adult that has seemingly gone through life, that has seen the passage of time, has seen this, revelation that there's enlightenment, or it makes it really complex, something that is quite simple and ordinary. And it tries to create this, package it into something like this fantastical, grand attainment. Like the ultimate goal in life is finding enlightenment. But what's being expressed here is not in the next, it's not a goal, it's not a destination, it's here already. So the baby, for example, the baby with the innocent eyes and everything, does not have any thoughts or words about this. Um, in the story, you can say that it's quite ahead. It's quite clear already. The cat, the dog that's walking around, in your room is quite realized. It cries, it meows, it barks. It doesn't have a dissertation about barking and meowing. It doesn't have any thesis on what's happening, meaning simply it's already what is. It's so funny, right? Because in this story of the character in trying to figure this out, it went through so many books, so many knowledge, so many memorization of quotes and everything, only to go back into the innocence of it all, to the wordless, to um, the innocence. It's like no one really left paradise because everything is innocent. Balloons. Okay. I have a request for balloons. Just a second. As a childhood, I have had a fear of eternity. It's called a fear of phobia. Any insights about fear? Usually fear is when there is an idea that you're separate from eternity. When there is this almost like a wounding. Like if you want to go back into stories and everything, there's usually a child that's carefree, and innocent. I used to just ride bikes all over the place and just had this immense happiness and everything. And then it learns what's wrong. It learns fear. It gets to have an idea of what eternity is. It gets to have a knowing of what that it's separate. So almost kind of like if you go back into that biblical thing, although that's just a story, um, the moment that knowledge came, there was a loss of innocence. And then fear arises. And that fear arises is something that has to be corrected, something that is separate, something that's lacking. Um, I'm not an expert at apeirophobia, um, but it's just fear that's arising. This character seemingly learned all the fears that would have happened. There was a fear of a whole bunch of things. But that was learned. That was something that was passed on, so to speak. You can also call it the fear of the unknown, but this is unknown already. Fear is just the fear of not knowing. But what's being expressed here that constantly there is this um there's this there's this exposure that this is the unknown over and over and over and over again. What's even asking this question is also the unknown. What is hearing this is also the unknown. Um, so the unknown is what it is. It's what it's at. It's not about trying to figure out something that is already unknown. But yeah, thank you for your question there. If you would like to chat more about it later, please go ahead. Yeah. What do you think of the idea of salvation, redemption, or reincarnation? That's a whole bunch of shin. Um, just ideas. Everything that you can utter, everything that you can think of, everything that you know, everything that is passed on. Everything that's ever been said is all made up. It's just the simplicity of that, right? Um, and if you look at, investigate at all of these ideas, it tries to portray that there is a next, that there's something that you can do to be able to change the next. Like the idea, for example, of reincarnation, is just simply that. There is this idea of a next lifetime. So it's like, okay, you know what? I'm not seeing this right now, so maybe next lifetime. It's an excuse. It's a cop out. I will never get it this lifetime. Oh my goodness. So next, kind of like um when when I was going through so much suffering, someone came up to me and he goes, Emerson, I think this is your last lifetime because you've suffered so much. And I'm like, yes. And I'm just, yeah, that's right. As if there's a lifetime already. As if there was previous ones. Salvation, redemption, is just an idea um, to create that there is a wrong in the past, that there's something to redeem, that there's someone to be saved, then someone is to, something needs to be, how do I say it? To be redeemed. But there's no one to be redeemed, no one to be saved. Um, simply their ideas, and that's okay. You know what? That's perfect. That's cool. It's a lot of movies are based on that, right? So if you take away salvation and redemption, then there'll be no great, epic hero movies and everything. Um, it's always this. There's a message here. I can see how what is being expressed is the unknowable. That is why this expression is so amazing and pristine. It has nothing to do with anyone, which kills the belief and all the crap that comes with that. The thing is, I think most people are looking for the realization of that to reflect in the character. I listen because of the feeling of freedom and the deep warmth I have in my stomach and chest when I hear this message. Yet this has nothing to do with me. So the pristine stillness is totally unaffected by characters, but when realized um, to the character, it diffuses all with peace. Or it was just an idea, an illusion. Reincarnation is a way of avoiding death. Beautiful. That's beautiful, actually, Anna. That's really clear. Yeah, there's this pristine stillness that is unaffected by your emotions, by you. It has nothing to do with you. There's this unmoving silence that it doesn't matter how much chatter or noise you make. There is this unconditional love that has nothing to do with personal or to or other or you. There is this freedom without any boundaries, that no matter what you think or try or do, it's freedom all the way. The freedom to feel lost, the freedom to think that I am, the freedom to think that I am not, the freedom to accept, the freedom to reject. But all of the movements are an illusion. It's just freedom seemingly appearing as movements when freedom is complete already. It's completely still. But thank you. Um, Everything that I said is just an idea as well, kind of like what Anna said. It's all an illusion as well, meaning there's no relevance to it. But yet, what is relevant is not heard. The silence in between, the stillness in despite all of this movement, the freedom despite the restrictions of the grasp of language. And that's what seems to resonate. That's what seems to be unheard. So that's what's pristine. That everything that's being said here, although in its irrelevance and its pointlessness, there is this relief that you don't have to understand it, you don't have to get it. It already is. And in that essence, there is this blossoming, seeming kind of like a, isness, this freedom that's quite stunning, this liberation that already is. Um, that even thinking that there's reincarnation, that's also it. There's nothing wrong or right about that. But yeah, reincarnation is a way of avoiding death. But what if this is death already? What if everything is happening all at once? Everything's thrown here all at once: life, death, reincarnation, ascension, eat, whatever. And it's just all appearing simultaneously without any purpose, really. Maybe for the mere enjoyment of it. Thank you. Sorry. I don't know. I'm wearing a sweat, a turtleneck in the middle of summer. Um, so I put on the fan there. I just wanted to look dapper. Looking dapper also happens. Hi, Emerson. Thank you so much for doing this meeting. How do you view sin? Like in Catholic sin? Oh, I don't even know much about that anymore. There was a time that I was a Catholic. I hope my mom's not watching this. Um, where my life was propelled by the idea that I'm sinful, by the idea of the shame and the guilt of having a sin that I can't even remember. They call it original sin. And in that sin, apparently there was, Christ died for my sins and everything. So there was this conformity. There's this idea that there's this imperfect here, that there's continuation of um like basically an authority. And what's being lorded over you is that you're sinful. The way that it's seen now, it's like this beautiful book that was given to a kid to stop, stealing cookies and everything. But it's actually quite dark because, because of stealing the cookie, you killed the god. Um, so the way that it's seen now is just seen as a story. There is no such thing as a sin. There's no duality. There's no shame. There's no guilt in what already is. The idea of sin, the guilt of sin, create this depression for this character that there's something always missing. That there's always going to be a future that you're going to be saved. There's going to be a future heaven. There's going to be a future absolution. There's going to be a next. So the character, seemingly lives life as if there's something missing and it has to conform. Um, but when there's this stunning liberation that it's seen, that everything is a construct, everything um, is an illusion. It doesn't mean that the character goes on sinning, goes on a spree of. It just means that there is a liberation from the ideas of wrong and right. And it doesn't mean that the character goes on doing a whole bunch of wrongs. The character just keeps on happening, but it's also not there. So yeah, it's saying that there is just nothing sinful about what already is. We're getting a little bit religion and Catholic here. Reincarnation, now salvation. Were you guys supposed to be at the 12 o'clock meeting? It's okay. It's cool. Hooray. Is that Anna Ashmore? Hey, Anna. We've been trying to have a meeting, but you're here. It's awesome. If you want to say something, you don't have to. But I just saw you say hooray. It's so nice to see you here. I like your poetry. Oh, okay, 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 Anna. No worries. Okay. No worries, Anna. I love your one-on-one with Josh. How do you do it? The trick is I don't do anything. It's just it's just it's just seen in the immediacy, in the directness. There's in the story, I have no idea, to be honest with you, right? Um there's just this direct expression of what already is and illuminates what seemingly is unreal. So there's going to be a lot of thoughts, are going to be a lot of fighting back into what seems to be believed. So it's a continual illumination that that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. And it exposes the narrative that seems to drive the seeker to think that it's not free. But when it's exposed that the words that are very used are all made up, the expression even is all made up. Just really the unseriousness of everything. The seekers tends to go into this very serious trajectory into trying to figure out. So it tries to go into comprehension. It tries to it desires to get it right. But really, comprehension would mean that there'll be a dissolution of the character. To understand it is to fall apart. Because if you really understand this, that there's no self, it's impossible to survive that. So it pretends to know, it pretends to understand, it pretends to comprehend, to hide that it doesn't know, it doesn't comprehend. So it goes into this idea of the future to basically hide from what cannot be put into an idea. Oh yeah, thank you so much. My third eye is active. Yeah, this is an activation. It's laser beam, so people are not. Do you ever visit the States to do talks? I do sometimes. Yeah. Very limited, very limited. I have a mom that yeah. So very limited. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. The thing is that I don't do it that often. So when I usually do it, it gets filled up right away. Um, but I have this regular Zoom meetings. It's the same. You know what I'm saying? Don't get caught up. Don't think that by meeting me that there will be kind of like um a super activation, that kind of thing, right? That's just a selling point for a lot of speakers. This is the same. There's nothing, no difference. You know what I'm saying? Um, there are people do that book one-on-ones and they They actually come to visit me or they fly me to go somewhere to think that it's more effective. And then when it actually when they actually see through it, they're like, oh, I could have just done this through Zoom. Same thing. There's no difference. And I just did a horrible marketing for what I do. But at least there's sincerity and honesty here. Yeah. I don't understand. Hi, Emerson. I don't understand when you say that nothing is moving, that nothing is really happening. Kind of like what I said, right? It's really hard to comprehend something that already is and trying to get it to the next when there's no next. I can give you the answer for that, but it will create this concept that I know something. Um, what I'm trying to say is that anything that's illusory is moving. When a self is selfing, that's an illusion because there's no self. When it thinks in the next, in the past, and everything, that's all a construct because there's no self to go to the past or the future, only in thoughts, only in ideas, only in fantasy. Um, there's really no next, there's really no past. For example, if all of the thoughts seemingly collapsed at this very moment, if the character cannot access the past and the future, then there's no movement. Then there's this pristine stillness, kind of like what Anna said. Yet there's this idea of an image of the future, the past, or a fantasy. But what's often overlooked is the unmoving, is the unchanging, is the permanence. And that's what's being expressed over and over again. So the words that are being spoken here are moving, but yet there is a pristine isness, a stillness that is always the only thing that's relevant. And that's what's being expressed here. Of course, not successfully because I keep on talking. I can also just do this for like 60 minutes. Yeah, we can talk chat. Tim, go ahead, please. We can I can call you. Go ahead, Tim. Oh, hi, Tim. Oh, sorry, I forgot to let people know that you can chat. And here I am just chatting along here. How are you, Tim?
Good. It's great to see you, Emerson.
Yeah, good to see you too, Tim.
I like the hovering red glasses on the dark background.
I like it too. I like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does create that effect, right? Of not here. I'm just joking.
Yes, indeed. It's nice to be here. I have listened to hours of your stuff, this stuff online, and one time we had a one-on-one,
That's
and
right. Yeah.
it was good fun. And
Yeah.
I'm just so excited to be in person with you and everyone here. And it's funny, after I sent that chat request, you talked pretty much what I wanted to share was a sense of noticing like a stillness appearing to move,
Yeah.
and then the belief that that movement equals time.
Yeah.
And
It's timeless. That's
I'm
timelessness. Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
no, that's timelessness. Moving is just a wonderful brain breaker, right? Like
It is. Yeah. So everything that
that.
you think that you ever know, you don't know. Everything that you think that's moving, it doesn't move. Everything that you think that you're feeling, you're not feeling it. Everything that you think you're sensing, you're not sensing it. And it's wild, right? Um,
Yeah,
and the thought that you're like, well, how do you know that? I don't. Everything that you ever know, you don't, right? It's just wild. So in this wild, unimaginable isness, there's this timeless that's seemingly moving, that's swaying, that's dancing, that's sensing, that's wowing. But yet, since it's timeless, it never moves. It's like watching kind of like those kaleidoscope thing, right? The
Mm,
character is kind of like this moving thing and everything. Um, but it's an illusion. It's a construct, right?
yeah.
It's a wondrous even you know what, even saying that, it's like, you know what, I've I've used my little nephew when I said to him that nothing is real, that this is an illusion. He was just stunned. He was like, wow. Yet the adult character, they're like, what do you mean it's an illusion? It's like, it should be this, are you kidding me? Right? I'm
Hmm.
like, I'm not, it's this is, I can't really say it, but what's appearing is not what you think it is. The thinking creates this reality, but there's no such thing as reality, kind of thing, right? So when you said that there's this stillness that's moving, I'm like, yeah, even that language trying to explain that is an illusion. So
Yeah.
it's almost like
Yeah.
we have lost our wonder, our awe, for curiousness for what already is. And seemingly we have become this academics and intellectual, like, trying to write a thesis about this. But you can't put this
The,
into a thesis. This is not a dissertation.
yeah.
Yeah.
The attempt to understand is such an infinite regression. Like, eventually got to like, okay, if I don't know, then I'll get this. And so it's the knowing. The knowing is I don't know, and it's like, well, where did that come from? Who or what would know that? And then
Yeah,
it's just infinite regression.
it
And
is. Yeah. It's just a never ending unfolding, right? It's just,
yeah,
it's like one of those like magical books that keeps on turning the page and you don't have any control of it. And I was talking to someone and someone said that, Emerson, I'm in this stage of unknowing right now. So don't tell me anything that I need to know. And I'm like, no, 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 no. There's always this. I said, there's nothing to unknow, but there's seemingly there is this appearance of knowing, and everything just falls apart. It's like
yeah,
sand castles are built and then they go.
yeah,
You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to unknow, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
yes. Someone said reincarnation, like to avoid death. I was thinking how a sense of an I could perpetuate itself forever is
Yeah.
reincarnation, and
Oh yeah.
but seeking to be a someone seeking to be a no one is a endless groundhog's wheel of seeking as well. And that's sort of what's noticed here. It's just like trying to get where I already am.
Yeah. Well, thinking will always perpetuate seeking. But since you can't avoid thinking because thinking just happens and everything, what if there is like almost kind of like a seeing through that, okay, that's just the same as the clouds moving,
Mm-hmm.
the waves rolling, the tides happening, the moon, the sun rising. It's just a part of this. So it does not try to make it wrong or right. You know what I'm saying? It's just what seems to appear. It's just appearances.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for coming. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to
Yeah.
see you.
Good to see you too. Anna goes, my friend has a little boy who runs around just going wow at absolutely everything. We were laughing, saying we could start a new movement called the Wow in the Now. That's awesome. Um yeah, I was going around going wow too at one point. Thank you. And if you just want to ask a question, just jump in and or raise your hand. That's completely all right. Hi, Emerson. I'm hiding my face because I'm also working. I have a question to ask you. After our one-on-one, I felt quite a wild freedom, and I could not even function properly. How long does it stay that way? I'm trying to work here, but do I need to take some time off? I seem to be looking at walls. I seem to be staring at things. I can't seem to focus, but I still need to work to be able to survive. I'm so sorry. I didn't do anything. um, we can talk later if you like, but it is what it is, right? If you can, you know what I'm saying, luckily it's Friday. I hope you don't work tomorrow. Uh, it can be disorienting at times, right? Or it could be just ordinary too for some other characters, right? It doesn't have to appear as a cookie cutter or someone's, don't compare it to anything. But so the I don't really have a problem. I'm just trying to share. I guess I'm okay at work right now, but I'm just trying to share. Yeah, yeah, that's, if that's a problem, that's a great problem to have. That there's just freedom in whatever seems to appear. Um, the only thing that I would suggest is number one rule of non-duality: don't talk to your coworkers about this apparent happening. They'll give you stares and they'll try to put you in a psychiatric ward. um, yeah, yeah, it can be disorienting, it can be wild. There's some people that stare at walls. There's some people that try to deny it, are stubborn about it. Um, but it is already no matter what it is, right? So, you working, which is really brave, that's it. You trying to take some time off, that's also it. Again, there's no one choosing to do it anyway. It just seems to be what's happening. So in the narrative, if you're choosing to work, that's cool. Um, I used to have a timer on my watch to snap me out of it, because there was a period that I would just stare at walls too and be completely absent-minded and um maybe that, I don't know. Like an alarm every hour just to snap you out of it. Um if you're working. I don't usually give advices, but I can understand what you're going through. But call me later. Call me later and after work. After work. I know you're working and it's good to hear though, it might be difficult, but it's good to hear that you're staring at walls. This is from the same person. Earlier this morning, I had an ugly cry, and but the ugly cry was so revealing. It felt so freeing, and now I'm just an empty shell walking around, staring at things. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. There are people that have that ugly cry as well. There are characters that And then some other characters will seriously will just go, meh, I guess this is it. For this character, I did the laughter and the crying and that kind of stuff, right? Because in the story, I had a lot of seemingly suffering that I don't think that I could get out of. And then when I saw that there was not even anyone in the suffering, I was like, what? It was just what's happening. Yeah. Thank you. But do call me. Do call me. Yeah. You can reach me on WhatsApp. Yeah. Or if you're in the States, just directly call me. How have your relationships been after the seeming awakening? Um, the relations, well, you know what? When it's seen that nothing really happened, meaning that, I don't really take this any seriously, to be honest with you, right? There is this normalcy, there's this authenticity. Um, I have I'm not posing as a spiritual teacher anymore. There's no more acting. So there's what you see is what you get. Um, there is, yeah, it's some of my friends basically said, oh, thank goodness we have the Emerson back that we knew from high school and earlier days and everything. When I became a spiritual teacher, when I was thinking that I was enlightened, there was this posing. I would be judging and I wanted to save everyone. I'm like, I want you to be enlightened too and everything. Now it's seen that everything is awake, but no one is awake. Everything is just awake. So even my friendships awake, there's no trying to change them and everything. Um, we don't powwow, we now wow. Yes, Tim. So you saw there was no one suffering, but that didn't stop the suffering immediately, did it? For this situation here, for this character here, it was very immediate. I was just stunned. I cried and laughed for a bit, and then there was just this silence, and I could not go to the past or future. I had a lot of false starts in seeing through this, a lot of glimpses, and when that glimpse seemingly happened, there was still suffering, right? But I kept on seeing that there was no one, and I kept on wondering why still there's suffering and everything, right? Because the the suffering was claimed by the thought that this is me suffering. But when that last hurrah, you know what I'm saying? There was this immediacy. And again, you know what? Please don't compare this because it's going to appear completely different from different character to character. Like there are different trees in this illusion, right? So don't think that this is the best. This is nothing better. This is nothing worse. But for this character, there was no more anxiety, no more suffering. The suffering for me was I was hiding severe anxiety and panic attacks, right? So I could not go to the future anymore because there was no one that could go there. It doesn't make sense. But there was this immediacy of like, wow. But it can also appear when there is a seeing that there is no one, that suffering can also seem to appear or sadness. Basically what I'm trying to say is anything can appear. Hey Daniel.
Hey, Emerson.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Bit tired today. I was just, I was thinking about what Tegan advised me or invited me to try is something
Yeah.
that worked for him was to just let go of everything, self-development, anything trying to get better, and even to inquire, and at some point even listening to your talks.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when
That
I
worked for
thought about
Tegan.
trying that,
Yeah, that worked for
yeah,
Tegan.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's not per se going to work for me because I sometimes just feel like shit, like either physically, sometimes also emotionally, and then I like
Yeah.
to ask a question like, is this just a thought?
Yeah.
Or anything like that, and then I feel better. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what? There's no technique to this. There's no methodology to this, right? It's seeing over and over that this is what is. So if what seems to
Yeah.
appear, you doing whatever, that's also it. But thinking that there's something wrong with it, trying to take it to the next, trying to do it, it's just what is. It's just what seems to appear, right? So there's no advice that I can give you because it already is what is, no matter what it is. Uh, but for Tegan somehow, right? That Tegan had a stubbornness though. He'll admit this too when we are doing one-on-ones, right? He kept on fighting it. So because he was holding a whole bunch of stuff. Um, again, this is not a
Mhm.
technique. This is not something that you do or not do. But for the story of Tegan, that seemingly worked for him. Um, and again, it's
Yeah.
not a mental thing, right? It's not something that you could think that you could go next because it already is presenting as it is, no matter what it is. Um, and it's hard to admit that. It's hard to comprehend that because what seems to appear is the immediacy, the directness that there's no opposites in this immediacy. So, for
Mm.
example, if you say that, oh, maybe I should not do this, then you're creating an opposition, although there's no one doing it. It's just this, meaning that there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to achieve. There's nothing that needs to move. And I know you're trying to get that, Daniel. But seeing that trying to get is also what's happening, then there's just kind of like, it's almost kind of like figuring out that there's nothing to figure out, seeing that there's nothing to see, knowing that there's nothing
Hmm.
to know. It's almost like going the opposite of what you think you know, although there's no one going opposite and everything. Um, in the absence of the doer, everything just unfolds. In
The
the
absence of what?
absence, everything just unfolds as it is.
In the absence of the doer, did you
In
say?
absence of the doer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doer can appear as like me doing it, not doing it. That's still a doer. So you're trying to say that maybe I should give up all of this stuff. It's still a doing. Or maybe I should not do
Yeah.
this. It's still a doing, right? It has nothing to do with you, is what's being expressed. There's an idea that you can do or not do, but that's the
Yeah.
trap.
Trying to be the not doer.
Yeah. There's no opposites, right? So doing, not doing is just the opposite of doing. Whatever seems to appear is just it.
Yeah. So if I meet friends on the phone and we ask each other some inquiry questions similar to the ones that you ask, like, doesn't really matter. It's not gonna make things better or worse.
It doesn't.
Okay.
For who?
And when you talk about directness,
Yeah.
you were talking earlier also about dogs and babies, little children.
Yeah.
Are they good examples of what you mean with directness?
Yeah. So when a baby cries, it cries. When a baby's happy, it laughs, right? When you don't feed the baby, you will cry and cry
Yeah.
until you feed it. That's very direct. If you've ever heard a baby cry, or
So
the dog will bark and bark and bark, right? That's direct. Yeah. In the immediacy,
yeah,
um, you know, is there really a place for thought? Is there even time? Is there even a you? Is there even a doing or a non-doing? Is there even reality? It's almost getting stunned. What is this? And I don't have an answer for what is this.
yeah, it's like if a dog is enthusiastic, it's just super enthusiastic, and
Oh
it's like
yeah.
as a human gets more into thinking, there can be a thought like, oh, I don't want to stand
Exactly.
out too
Yeah.
much. What will people think of me if I'm just,
Yeah.
direct
Yeah.
or just
But again,
natural?
that's also it, right? Because now you're going to think that now I have to get rid of my thinking. Now I need a lobotomy. Um, the doer always attaches itself. What do I need to do? How do I run away from this? You know what I'm saying? It's like, but really, you're just running in
Yeah,
place. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. And then
yeah,
you're just chasing a fantasy, right? But really, you know what I'm saying? What's being expressed is so it's very straightforward, right? It's so evident that the sense, everything that you're saying, the sense of self, the me, the character, um, is an illusion that's tied to the illusion of time. So
hmm
it can only appear in time. Without time, there's no self. Like, for example, you saying that, do I need to drop away all of my practices? Then you're going to the next, right? What if I do this? What if I get rid of this and
yeah,
everything? Yeah, it might happen. Who cares? But you have nothing to do with it. So the trick of the character, the self, the me, the whatever, is it ties itself to the confines of time. So it goes to the next. It goes to the next moment. But what is
yeah,
being expressed here is that there's no next moment. It's already this. It has nothing to do with what you think. It's offered all the time. It's here, it's here, it's here. But it has nothing to do with what you think is of here is. It's now, it's now, it's now, but it has nothing to do with what you think of what now is. Because the moment that you get in the way, seemingly, although there's no you getting in the way, then it takes it to the past to compare it, and it takes it to the future. The self can never be caught in this very moment because it will disintegrate. So it avoids it. They're like, okay, um, you know, it goes running in place, right? It goes to the next. Okay, you know what? Yeah, we'll talk later, Emerson, that kind of thing, right? It's afraid of this vastness because this vastness, it doesn't exist. It fears the unknown because it's also the unknown. Um, so it tries to think it's seeking its nature, you know, and it's tied to this idea that there's a progression, that there's something that's going to happen next. It invests
yeah,
itself in the future when when it's what's being expressed is this now, wow.
yeah,
But you're like, okay, where? It tries to run to the future again. This right now, here, infinitely, this. But it doesn't want to hear that. You're like, oh, okay. You don't try to say it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Hey, Emmy.
Oh, hi, Rosa.
Good
Just a second,
morning.
Rosa. I have something for you.
Boom! this was thanks, sweetheart. This was my keyword.
Yeah.
This directness, this
Yeah.
immediacy of what is.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
boom.
This.
And
This.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's also being bored. It's also being
It is.
chill. It's
Yeah.
also being like,
That's
just
also the immediacy, by the way, being
totally
bored.
ordinary. Totally ordinary. Boom. And maybe
Yeah.
here,
Being
when I was
frustrated, hating what I'm
everything
talking about, not liking.
already, and
Oh,
here to Daniel, like every the question is it. There is simply no one saying anything, questioning anything, thinking anything, just innocence at play, beautiful
yeah.
thoughts, ideas, um, looking, whatever we label it. This is just beautifully happening, full on booming aliveness. What
Yeah.
else? What else? I mean,
Even when it's like this, it's also, you know,
even when it's like this.
someone has
Yeah.
to take away the special effects from me because I just keep on,
I love them. Go on,
overusing
go
it.
on, go on. Yeah, but this is really like the this immediacy of what is, no matter what. Everything is it.
Yeah.
Nothing is excluded.
Yeah.
Why? This is life, full on,
Full on.
full on. I love you. Full
Love
on.
you too. Boom.
Boom.
Yeah, it's so wild, right? Because someone was asking me, I don't have this aliveness that you're talking about. I'm really sad. I'm like, that's also aliveness. Sadness is aliveness. It's also it. They're like, what do you mean? That's not aliveness. Um, it's always it, no matter what is it. You can't escape from it. Because there's no you to escape from it in the first place, because there's this infinite booming that is all inclusive. Thank you, Rosa. Hi, Emerson. After listening to you for quite a while, there was this peace here, but there's also this sense of grieving, grieving of everything that I thought I knew keeps on happening, keeps on falling apart. But yet there's also this feeling of constancy, of quietness. Is that normal? Yeah, you know what? It's so funny, right? Because grieving can occur as a when it's seen that everything that it's for example, when there's a person, um it's like every opinion that you've ever made doesn't matter. every every idea that you've ever created, it doesn't matter, right? Everything that is that you fought for, everything that you seemingly have believed, it doesn't matter, right? So the structure of the character, the self, disintegrates, and it becomes really empty, and it's almost like there's this loss of being right. There's also a loss of putting someone as wrong. Then there's just this disintegration, and sometimes it could be a grieving process of the idea of what you think you knew, the assumptions that you made, the truths that you held, the absolutes that you protected, the very meaning of life as you know it completely falls apart too. And um and and it could be it could be really sad, right? Especially if you held on to a whole bunch of these things. um but there's also laughter that happens because you see that it was nothing serious, right? So or not, that's okay too, right? But there was this I was talking to someone basically saying, what's the point of all of this, Emerson? And I'm like, I have no idea too. And then we just started laughing for a couple of minutes because What's the point? What's the point? And they just laughter, or it could be, it could be this depressing thing like, oh my goodness, I did this and that, and I had, like, I always tell this story, but I had a spiritual cryptocurrency wallet that I thought that made me into a spiritual billionaire, right? And all this time I was trying to look for my lost password so I can get back into it. So I would be enlightened again. I was like searching for this password. I'm like, the other password for this spiritual cryptocurrency, I think I have billions there. And then I would ask all of these gurus, and they're like, no one has the answer. And then, of course, I was God smacked and saw that the cryptocurrency spiritual uh, wallet was completely worthless. Worthless. No value whatsoever. Um, that made me cry. It's like securing a place in your idea of heaven and everything. And at the same time, this is already the jackpot. But there is no price. There's no winner. But it's a jackpot. I'm trying to look for a jackpot thing here, but I can't seem to find it. So I'll just use this jackpot. Of course, the question, how do I win the jackpot? Okay. There you go. Congratulations. You're rich beyond compare now. In case you missed it, here it is again. Oh, it's not working anymore. Just a second. There it is. It's this very moment, this very directness, in this immediacy, in this nakedness, in this unspeakable isness, right? It's this. If you're tired of hearing this, then it's that. That too is it. If you're sick and tired of hearing that, I'm not good at sign language. I was trying to do something kind of like, and it's not a secret. It's not there's no gatekeeping. This is not, I'm not bypassing anything. It's whatever appears. So if it's the frustration, jackpot. If there's sadness, jackpot. If there is confusion, jackpot. But no one can claim that jackpot. That's the thing. It's an empty price. Try to check if my third eye chakra is still there. It's right there. There it is. Can you elaborate on the jackpot? It's actually the wholeness of this very moment, right? So whatever seems to appear, emptiness, sadness, gladness, is the wholeness of this very appearance. It's it. So, and it's going too hard to comprehend this, right? So, for example, if sadness is what's appearing, that's what's longed for. It's that. But the character wants to go to the next and say that I don't want that sadness. I want gladness, right? But at the same time, it labels this as sadness when it can't be labeled as sadness. It's wholeness appearing as this very moment. There's no other moments. So when it's seen that every moment is presenting as it, as it, as it, as it, then there's no next. It's like this: when the sadness appears, there it is again. When it changes into happiness, that's it too. When it changes into boredom, that's it too. And it's not separate from this isness. Everything is whole. Everything is inherently whole and complete, right? So to think that there's something missing propels that seeking. So it's like running a marathon, chasing something that already is, but it never moves. It can never go to the next because there's no next. I have this funny story where this came from. So my friends asked me to buy some pot cookies in an Amsterdam cafe. You know, those cookies with marijuana and everything. So it was my first time. So what I did was I ate 3 of them. My friend called me up. He goes, Emerson, where are you? And I'm like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And then they found me. They're like, what are you doing? And I was just really kind of like walking in one place, completely enjoying life. Maybe because I was greedy and I was just wanting to eat the rest of the cookies. Thank you. Thank you. Eating pot cookies is also it, but there's no escaping this. That story always cracks me up. Here is a strange question. There's a persistent story that the block to freedom is a tension I feel around my inner ear in one side. At one point, there was a blissfully free energy in the body. Now this tension is pressing, and yet it's just a story. I want it to go away. See, wanting it to go away denies that that block is also it. So it keeps on running towards the future, trying to figure out, trying to, when this, it's almost like a negotiation, right? Well, when this tension goes away, then I'll be free. When this happens to me, then, the tension in my ear, then I'll have freedom. There is freedom appearing as this seeming, block, this seeming pain. That pain is not always there. So that's it too. That's it too. And I know it's hard to admit that, it's hard to accept that, but that's it as well. It's so funny, right? Because I used to have this anxiety, and I used to have these panic attacks. And I basically said, the moment that my panic attacks disappear, then I'll be free. But when I saw that there's no next, not me seeing, it's just obvious that there's no next, there's just this timelessness, that it's an illusion, that it only appears as an idea. When it seemed that there's no next, I could not even find that anxiety anymore. The pain is it. It's always it, no matter what it is. Trying to put conditions to freedom misses out the freedom that's being presented as perhaps as a pain or a tension appearing as it.
May I share?
Yeah, for sure.
Panic attacks. I also had them.
Oh, you did. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I saw that everything is it.
Yeah.
And I was playing then with the panic attacks when they arose out of the blue. Like you said, it was the moment the panic attacks comes,
Yeah.
this is freedom.
That's right.
it.
Yeah.
Done. So no matter what, the resistance is this. Done.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is this already. Full on resisting, full on not wanting to have this, no matter what. In this directness, really like every
Yeah.
idea, every movement, everything is it.
Yeah. It and it there are even no ideas. Everything just dissolves. It just pain just is just it. And you don't even yeah.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's the direct like exposure to something that cannot be known. You're like,
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
But yeah, Casey said nothing wrong with wanting to get rid of pain. Yeah, that's it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
But
sharing this with her.
yeah, but thinking that that there is going to be blissful free energy when relying on that story, you know what I'm saying, is creating a next when there's no next. Yeah.
I also like was, well, this is hopeless already. Forget it. It's hopeless. That's it. And in this very hopelessness, there was only hopelessness. That's the freedom.
Yeah.
Or let's say there is no freedom. So what?
Again, we're just hopeless, hope, freedom, no freedom are just words swirling.
Yeah.
When in
Yeah.
sin and directness, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not a belief, it's not a non-belief, it's just what is that cannot be said. Right? So
Boom.
boom. I think I have to go. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you guys on Sunday. And wow.
Thank you, Emmy. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Love you
Love ya.
guys. Love you,
ya.
love you, love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I would do the breakout room, but someone booked me, unfortunately, and I had to eat. So I'll see you guys. I'm hungry. Bye.
Bon appétit. Bon appétit.
Bon appétit, chérie.
Merci. Merci.
Adios.
Merci beaucoup. Bye-bye.